We were talking about regulation and dharma in this capitalist crisis of today. And Arun, you had an interesting thought.
Yes, I'm going to look towards the conclusion of your book, where you have tried to tie some threads together of various thoughts that have came to your mind as you were researching the Mahabharata and writing about it. And here, towards the very end, you say, or perhaps the pervasive failures of corporate governance, such as Enron, Satyam, and others, talking about dishonesty of government officials and governance generally, breaking down, including corporate governance. And you say here, modern democracies expend a huge amount of energy in debates between the political left and the right, when the greater divide is between conduct in accordance with dharma and adharma. And you go on to say, Draupadi's question in the assembly about the dharma of the ruler should be an inspiration to free citizens in all democracies. When there is no other recourse to governance failures, I have concluded that citizens must be prepared to wage a Kurukshetra-like war on the corrupt to achieve accountability in public life. Now, one could read this to say you are suggesting we get out on the streets and have a revolution. But the first part is talking about a conversation with yourself and with others, and as Amartya Sen says, a process of public reasoning. We derive our regulations that we shall all subscribe to by some process of conversations between us. And in that, this demonizing of some for taking up the cause of, let's say, the presently oppressed as being communist or left or socialist, and those who say, well, let's have freedom and liberalism a little more as being right, I think it prevents this reasoned public discourse.
Yeah.
So what sort of discourse were you intending we would have, using your book perhaps?
Well, that's sort of the place where I have come to, Arun, after writing this book. Clearly, this is not a how-to book, how to do this, how to become moral. Neither was the Mahabharata a how-to book, because the greatness of the Mahabharata was that it could see the human condition when there are no easy answers to most of our moral dilemmas. And so, but at the same time, I do believe that in the calculus of day-to-day policy making, I mean, just think if President Bush, before going to war in Iraq, instead of having the left screaming this and the right in America, the Republicans and Democrats, somebody also talked about dharma, that what is the right thing to do? All these people you're going to go and kill in Iraq, for what? And so I think this is true for all cases. I talked about absentee school teachers. Now the guru is a highly revered person in our society. And when a school teacher is absent, that person wounds the dharma of the guru in our society. You know, and this is where I think we need to be reminded, while it's true, most of what we need to do is, in terms of policies, we need to change our institutions. If a school teacher would be sacked, if he was absent or she were absent, you will have much less absenteeism. But at the same time, you cannot guarantee this teacher would teach with inspiration, because that's the dharma of a good teacher, is to teach with inspiration.
You know, Gurcharan, you have such passion for something now in your life, and I'm sure you've always been a person of passion, and you're searching for the goodness that you may do in life. We mentioned the conversation you had with your mother as you began to think about this book. You also talk about your father when you were a much younger person, and he was taking you in a tonga or something to the railway station and said, hurry up, we've got to get to the station in time. And you said, you remarked to your father then, somewhat whimsically, is there any point to our life beyond the fact that we should make it to the station on time? And it's such a question for all of us today. Is there anything more in life than to respond to one's BlackBerry, the message there, or the cell phone when it rings, and to end up the day with the in-tray cleared, and nothing that was left undone, but then the in-tray starts the next morning. So it seems to be a life which goes on without fulfilling any greater purpose. And you asked earlier a question, I want to ask you this question. You were very successful, retired early at 50, having achieved by 50 what people take a longer time to achieve. You said you had felt the emptiness of conventional success. So what would unconventional success be like? And what are you looking for now?
Well, I think that, the traditional answer to this question, Arun, is the religious answer. But in my case, I have come to the conclusion that an act of goodness is really is a very high religion. I don't want to use the word highest religion, but is a very high form of religion, an act of goodness. And so, as human beings who have to live together, what this book has taught me is that a life lived in an examined way, because dharma makes you think. It's an act of reasoning in the end. It's not belief. It's not saying, oh, God said, don't tell a lie. No, reasoning. You reason it out. That's how Yudhishthira reasons. That's how Draupadi and Arjun are constantly reasoning. They're not depending on God. So I think that for all of us, these questions related to artha, dharma, kama, desire, these are things we have to manage, in our lives. And we are still searching. And that's really what the Mahabharata really leaves you with, is it leaves you on your own in the world. You don't know why you came. You don't know why you're here. You don't know why you're going and when you're going. But in the meantime, it does say that if you behave with dharma, which is essentially making sure that you know that the other person is also there, to respect the rights of others, I think we'll make for a better world.
Excellent.